Dang, dude, your camera does look great.
I know. Look at that depth of field, bro.
That's crazy. Okay, don't
Tommy
smile
Marquez
into
up in
that.
this biatch.
Don't smile and do weird stuff like that, bro.
Well, I wanted to make sure everyone could see the depth of field.
So you smiled like a weirdo?
Yeah.
Okay, dude. Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody's got it.
Smiled like Brian Peck.
Okay. Dude, don't stop. Cut. Okay. All right, we already lost a viewer. Thanks. All right. So we're here to answer quarterfinals questions, talk about quarterfinals. What we're going to begin with, generally speaking, is our approach to this point following the open, or I guess we'll start with the approach that we've taken through open prep, which is really, we're kind of in just a continuation of that. Essentially, loosely, the way we program for Sentinel is that from, let's say, May or June through the 1st of December, we have 4 or 5 week strength cycles or strength progressions that are oftentimes linear, but we try to implement as much variation within movements, tempo schemes, pauses, variations of movements to disguise the strength progressions as much as possible so that they just don't look like the same old shit, like Wendler 531, essentially. I think what we try to do more than anything else is find as much of a balance as possible between an element of progression so that you can see progress in particular lifts without beating the same rep schemes, the same whatever, for example, close grip bench every Monday for 5 weeks. Try to switch it up as much as possible within the confines of doing the same movement week to week. So that's essentially when quarterfinals is over, we'll pick back up into that stuff. And then we'll carry it all the way basically up to December. And then starting in December, January, and then half of February is all open prep, where we're still lifting every day for the most part, lifting every week, but each week things are different to utilize the base of strength, so to speak, that you built over the year, the summer, fall, spring, etc. And to now expose you to as many different movement variations, modalities, lifting formats, stuff like that you could potentially see in competition. So that's our philosophy strength wise. I think within CrossFit or your Metcons accessory, it's really simple. We try to do constantly varied functional movements, high intensity, and I like to segment training as little as possible. Meaning most of what you're doing, most of the work you're doing looks like CrossFit. Out of season, again, like May through December, you get like more fun stuff that it's like pretty reasonable to not expect to see during the open. Like you're not going to do a ton of Murph style workouts or like 800-meter farmer carry every time you break it 20 push-ups, because we know we're not going to see something like that in the open. So it's almost not advantageous to train with such a high degree of variance leading into the open. You know you're going to see things like burpees, so you should be doing burpees a little more. You know you're going to be snatching in some form or fashion, whether that's a light barbell or a dumbbell. So maybe we should be doing that a little bit more. We know thrusters are going to come, etc. So generally speaking, how many times am I going to say generally speaking?
Maybe a couple more and then we're good.
So from May to December, we return back to strength cycles. And what it looks like is 4 weeks of a lifting progression. Say Compete has 5 lifts, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. 60 will have Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And then the other 2 days will be like a skill progression or just a skill development piece that changes from week to week. You'll progress that for 5 weeks. And then on the 6th week, or you'll progress it for 4 weeks. And on the 5th week, it'll be like a back off, a deload, so to speak. So I'm going to pull up now is
I think something that you've said on the Instagram before too, and that's important to note.
The Instagram?
Yeah, the Sentinel Instagram. Is that it's almost dangerous to have like a progression where you're snatching every Monday and back squatting every Thursday or whatever leading into quarterfinals. Cause yeah, you might get lucky and there might be a heavy snatch and maybe you crush that, but the chances of that happening are very low compared to varying your lifts and lifting in a bunch of different sorts of ways, time domains, tempos, things like that, leading into quarters, just getting overall stronger. And then outside of leading right into quarterfinals, when you do more strength progressions, they don't always have to look like, 5x5, add 5 pounds every week. You can progressively overload a movement pattern without doing the same thing every week and getting bored of it.
Okay, just make some. Whoa, I just messed my camera up big time. You like that? How's that?
You just look orange, but you look fine.
Dude, fuck this camera. I need to get I'm gonna buy a $3,000 camera now. Just because yours looks good. Mine looks like doo-doo. All right, here we go. So what I'm sharing now, this is from the start of last year when Compete was in their quarterfinal, essentially right after the Open. It was 10%. So 60 picked up immediately after the Open, like what I would call about as variable or as varied of a strength cycle as you can get, where pretty much the only thing that's progressing is you're squatting every Monday in some form or fashion. On Wednesdays, you're doing some form of Olympic weightlifting, and on Fridays, some sort of pull from the floor or a deadlift variation. And the reason I do it like this is so that first strength progression that you ease back into after 12 weeks of doing different things week to week to week, it's not so vanilla that you get just kicked right off into the deep end of, again, something that's so boring that's like back squat every Monday, 5x3. So, for example, first cycle of the year for 60, this was the first week. You had back squat singles on a Monday, 2 power cleans and a push jerk on Wednesdays, and then sumo deadlifts on Fridays. Second week, Zercher squats for 10s, which is quite a bit different than back squats, but you're still squatting on a Monday. Then power snatch, overhead squat, squat snatch complex, and then a deficit deadlift. Week 3 was 1 1/4 front squats, behind the neck split jerks, and then banded deadlifts. Week 4, some back squat waves, 5-4-3, 3-position power snatches, and then a dead stop deadlift. And then week 5, there was a heavy single back squat, touching back on that first week 1 thing. Then power clean and jerks and power snatches, and then Romanian deadlifts. So this was the first cycle of the year after last Open. Then, I don't know why this is highlighted in green. You guys get to see how like a 5-year-old colors with crayons. And this is kind of how I program and how my brain works. This is cycle C1 week 1. This means cycle 1 week 1. So this is when Compete picked back up with 60, and we entered the same cycle going forward together. And this one's going to be a halting deadlift, some sort of a deadlift on Mondays, a squat on Tuesdays, gymnastic strength on Wednesdays, Anderson squats on Fridays, and a dumbbell bench on Saturday, or an upper body hypertrophy piece. Early on in the year, the reason I program, for example, these movement variations, 10 reps. I think the 3S is 3 sets. Tempo back squat 20s. I believe in this cycle, we went 20, 16, 12 each week. So descending by 4. Here we go. Anderson front squats and then a hypertrophy piece. I guess if you think of like immediately following competition, you want to enter sort of a phase of structural integrity or building up tolerance within your tissues, joints, muscles to support like a lot of maybe volume or loading later on in the year. So this time of the year, it's like lighter weights, higher tempos, really controlled, slow stuff. And that's kind of how this cycle went. The next cycle, I probably shouldn't talk through all of them. Front squats with the pause. Anyways, this is essentially where everything was. Cycle 3, cycle 4. And this is kind of an example of the variance and where we go. And then you enter Open prep phase, and we have week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Open week 1, and then quarterfinal prep, which is just an extension of that. So essentially these 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 weeks of a lot of varied strength.
Yeah. I think you can look through those. I mean, just what you just showed, it's really easy for people to see like, oh yeah, I am squatting, Olympic lifting, hinging. But if you look at those movements, you're not going to feel like you're doing the same thing every week. You're not going to wake up on Friday and be like, oh, what am I pulling off the floor today? You probably don't even think about what's coming up. You just see sumo deadlifts or RDLs one day and you're like, all right, let's go.
Yep. And that's the goal. I mean, to a degree, progressions are good and they can help build strength. And I think there is a place for them, but I don't think within the confines of CrossFit, which really is no confines, you should be subjecting yourself to something like an 8-week strength cycle of 5-3-1s. I just don't think there's any place for that. You can get stronger by doing cleans 1 week, back squats the next week, overhead squats the next week, or squatting twice a week and just doing something different every single week. And you expose yourself to far more movement patterns and variations, and you get more adaptation because of that. Whereas if you just back squat for 10 weeks straight, sure, your back squat's going to go crazy, but then what about your overhead squat? You haven't been doing shit for that. What about your snatch? What about your squat clean, etc.?
Deadlift.
And for people who are like, oh, I can back squat for 10 weeks and PR my clean. Well, you probably have an Olympic weightlifting background, and 99% of people doing CrossFit for health and fun aren't going to just pick back up a squat clean like that out of nowhere. So the way that we like to put strength progressions in with that kind of variance is an easy way to progress something like a general squat pattern or your Olympic weightlifting technique or pulling from the floor, while exposing you to a lot of variations, but still following some modicum of a linear progression. Now, in quarterfinals, what we've done essentially through the open, we basically almost had a mini taper. I won't say it's like full, but kind of like a mini taper each week, so that on Friday when you did your open attempt, or on Saturday when you did your open attempt, you felt really fresh and ready to attack the workout. And some people would be like, oh, the open doesn't matter. Or like, I just trained through the open. I'll put it this way. All 3 weeks of the open, not a single one of those guys, Dallin, Colton, or Jason, did a full day of training before doing that open workout. Dallin did some very light barbell technique with bands in the morning, probably to just like get out of his head more than anything. But neither Colton nor Jason did a single workout. It was just that open workout. So when people are like, oh, I trained through the open, it's that's almost to me an excuse to say, like, if I don't do well, it's because I trained through the open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you're losing anything by allowing yourself to have a little lower volume on a Wednesday going into that workout and a rest day on Thursday. Because if you get the intensity that open workout demands, you're going to get way fitter from it.
Yeah.
So each of those open weeks, we almost had like a mini taper where Wednesday was Tuesday, didn't have a fourth piece for compete. Wednesday didn't have a fourth piece. Thursday was recommended rest. And then Friday was basically the open workout and then like an accessory lifting afterward if you wanted it. And we did that all 3 weeks. Now going into quarterfinals, the lifting picks back up, but in a way that like we expect to see lifting potentially in quarterfinals, like within workouts, heavy barbell waves. So like here, week 1, we had thruster waves. This was 1 minute on, 2 minutes off of AMRAP clean and jerks, heavier bench pressing, clean waves, touch and go power snatches. This is this week that we're currently on now. We'll go into deadlift waves. Then week 4, which is kind of truly the last week of quarterfinals prep, which I'll bring up here in a second, is squat clean thruster waves, similar to those clean and jerk waves. Higher rep overhead squat. So the rep scheme is a 15, 13, 11, 9, 7 for weight. A weighted gymnastic strength piece. And then clean and jerk and snatch waves to really dial in the Olympic weightlifting technique. Going in week 5, as we know, this is essentially Monday, Tuesday, then the workouts are announced Wednesday, etc. So we'll go over to the document. This is week 4. And the lifting here, this is compete. It's very similar on 60. Here's these. Oh, wow. I didn't switch the document. So let me fix this on the present screen. I'll get through this and then we'll simplify things a little bit. I'm kind of just like running my mouth. All right. So this is a lifting progression for week 4 of our quarterfinals prep progression. It's not really progression. This is week 4 of our quarterfinals prep phase. And this is the lifting we have for Monday. For compete, it's a standardized or a prescribed barbell load, and it's 1 minute on, 2 minutes off for 5 sets, max rep squat clean thrusters. And I'm not necessarily betting on squat clean thrusters coming out, but that's a movement that's so athletic. And when you're doing it at a heavy weight for intensity like this, you're going to get stronger in your squat clean. You're going to get stronger in your thruster. You're going to get stronger in your front squat, etc. You'll get fitter on a heavy barbell in general. So it's just something that I think is good to do. So you do these for 5 sets, which is 1 to 2 work rest ratio. And then at the 15-minute mark, after that final 2-minute period of rest, you'll go into 1-on-1 off at a bit of a lighter weight, but still, a challenging barbell load, 185, 125. Then 60 on this day has a similar lifting progression. It's still max clusters, but it's just 1 on, 2 off for 5 sets. You don't have that second interval, and the percentage of your 1RM thruster decreases. If you don't have a 1RM thruster, there's these recommended percentage prescriptions based off a 1 rep max front squat. Tuesday is bench press. Just want to make sure we're touching it in case that shows up. Wednesday is that overhead squat I was talking about. And then we'll go into, so essentially think about if I were doing this for overhead squats, I'd probably try to be around 185, maybe 195 here. Then I would go to either 195, maybe 200. Then I'd try to go to 205, 215, maybe 220. I've done 220. What was that? I've done 225 in a workout for 9 reps that, what was it? Strength and depth workout, 21 calorie ski, 15 bar facing burpees, 9 overhead squats, 225. I'd probably try to be around 225, 235 here and maybe like 245. So like heavy, but not so heavy that my legs are smoked. It's more of like a total body fatigue. And then at the 15-minute mark, going into some heavy back squats to finish the legs off. Then here we've got a couple of quarterfinal tester style of workouts. And then our strength is weighted dip, weighted pull up. And then Saturday, which is kind of the last training day going into quarterfinals, are those snatch and clean and jerk waves. And then another couple quarterfinal tester style of workouts. So essentially what we've done is after the open, you've basically had kind of a pseudo deload going through the open where like Tuesday, Wednesday are a bit lower volume, Thursday recommended full rest, Friday pretty much just the open workout, some extra accessory if you want it. So then going into that third week, finishing the open, not really much of a deload. We kind of do a 1, 2, 3, 4 full week kind of intense ramp up to quarterfinals. And then after the weekend of the 12, 13, this is what this 5th week will look like. It's just something super light on Monday. Like this is the lifting, snatch balance, 5-second hold in the squat, each rep, then a split jerk, 5-second hold in the split, just technique work, singles. 1 intense workout, which is some burpee to ring, 12-inch target, ring muscle up, and then burpee ring muscle up. So 24 total muscle ups, pretty low volume for an athlete expecting to do good in quarterfinals or potentially make a semifinal. Monostructural in there, so it's just really low impact on the body, and then touching a crossover skill with the option for intensity on the biker or the echo bike in the remaining time. This Tuesday, which this will have the last lifting going in, is like when it says 5 to 6 RPE, this 10 alternating minutes, it's just to keep your body like turned on. I think for me, what I find is if I were to take this full rest day Sunday, a full rest day Monday, or even train Monday, a full rest day Tuesday and Wednesday, by the time I get to Thursday, I'm almost turned off. And that first workout is likely to knock me out of the park. And I just feel like I'm completely destroyed. So this is a lifting session that's intended to make sure your body stays turned on, but you don't get any residual soreness from it. So it's just 30 total back squats, 30 total deadlifts at like a 5 to 6 effort. And you're just performing the reps for speed. And then this is like a movement prep primer. So it's a 40-minute EMOM. You row as fast or as slow as you want, bike as fast or as slow as you want, ski, you run. And then in between you have a low volume amount of exercises to just work like transitions, efficiency, technique, etc. Again, just to keep your body turned on to exposed to a wide variety of movements. Then Wednesday, this is the only thing. We're not going to recommend for anyone to do any of the quarterfinal workouts Wednesday. It'll just be this optional intense cardio piece to kind of keep your engine turned on. And then we'll have quarterfinal day 1. We'll recommend 2 workouts for compete on Thursday. We'll have quarterfinal day 2. We'll recommend 2 workouts for compete on Friday. And then we'll have an optional retest 1 and 2 Saturday, optional retest 3 and 4 Sunday. Is how we approach it. True. I saw your question. Will 60 do any of the quarterfinal workouts? The week for 60 is already all programmed out, and we'll have basically, it'll be like 60's workout of the day for Wednesday, conditioning Thursday, workout Friday. And then underneath it'll have option to do quarterfinal workout 1 or 3 or 5, whatever, 4. So you guys will just have the option for that. Why not program percentage for compete as well? I very rarely like programming percentages because I find that if I prescribe a percentage to somebody and they're feeling sore and they can't meet it, it's like, oh, I'm a piece of shit. I suck. I can't do that. So I just prefer RPEs most of the time. And when I do a percentage, like these cluster intervals for 60, these are like based off of my own percentages, to me seemed like super reasonable and not like crazy hard.
Yeah, well, he asked this when we had the compete one up that has the 225 set weight and then 185 set weight. And I think especially between compete and 60, if you're doing compete, you can almost kind of assume that you're in like the top 10 to 15% probably. And those weights need to be something that you can do anyway.
Right. And if you can't do them fast, you should still be practicing them, because what if they show up?
Yeah. And then 60 is from 15% all the way down to like whoever gets last place in the open. So there's a wide range of people.
Or you don't even do the open.
Yeah, exactly.
When is deload and start of the next strength progressions? So strength progressions will begin right after quarterfinals. They'll start the 22nd. And that first week won't be like, again, it'll be like the first cycle of the year, which will be like, call it structural integrity to use a big word. I prefer like, I kind of think in terms like that, but I try not to be super sciencey. I try to think of like feel through the year. Like you want those first few cycles to feel like you're building a tolerance for what's to come, so to speak. So you could think of it as erring more toward the side of hypertrophy, tempo, etc. So that's all to say that first week will not be like a challenging strength progression to begin with. It'll be super easy, and you'll be able to get as much or as little from it as you want. And we'll recommend compete to just rest as much as possible. That being said, quarterfinals is 4 workouts. So if you do 4 workouts over Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's just 1 a day and you don't retest, you're not going to be sore or beat up, I wouldn't expect. Let's see. Wow. You guys talking about protein, p-values.
Do you want to try to answer Burton's question from earlier without getting triggered?
Where, who is this? Is this, okay, it's not Luke Burton, but it makes me want to think it is. What's the zone 2 equivalent for gymnastics? AKA it works, but doesn't make good content for Insta. Zone 2 works for sure, but so do intervals at zone 5 or 4, and they have way more transfer over to CrossFit than zone 2 ever will. I would, before I just go off on a insane, super like woke, progressive leftist rant on this, like I'm just going to feel like that Karen with like the glasses pointing. If you have 2 hours a day to waste on zone 2 so that in a year you have a slightly bigger aerobic base, great. But most people who aren't Matt Fraser or anyone else who wants to bury themselves in a tomb at HWPO, like we just don't have time for that. And it's dumb. So say you're doing every 10 minutes for 5 sets, 30, 20, 10 calorie row and calorie bike erg. Or that's kind of what you did, but you did 4 sets yesterday. I did every 8 minutes for 5 sets. It was inspired by Mason Mitchell. 30, 20, 10 calorie row, bike erg. You can get a ton of intensity with that. You're going way over. I would say you're probably going into zone. You're definitely in zone 4, maybe you're edging a little bit, maybe into zone 5 on some of those later intervals. That's going to feel like a CrossFit workout. And you're practicing getting to that intensity, holding it, coming back, repeating that intensity, holding it, coming back. So those 5 to 8 to 12-minute workouts, you're getting better and better and better at. Whereas this zone 2, what it helps with in CrossFit is your ability to recover from workouts, but you're not Matt Fraser. You're not training 8 hours a day. So your ability to recover from one workout or 2 workouts is not impacted enough by zone 2, in my opinion, and in my experience, for it to be worth the 2 hours you're wasting on it. For gymnastics, there is no zone 2. Do strict pull-ups and push-ups every single day. And if you do that every single day, 50 strict pull-ups, 100 push-ups, one day you'll be amazing at gymnastics. And I'm not even kidding. It might sound like I'm just being a dick and like a butthole, but you really just have to do pull-ups and push-ups every day, and they're not bad for you, and you're not going to overtrain.
Yeah. Push-ups, I think, are super underrated in CrossFit, like just using them as a way to get better at gymnastics. And then zone 2, we've talked about it a lot, but you just lose so much strength, speed, and power doing zone 2 all the time. Yes, you get aerobic gains from it, but you don't get any anaerobic gains. Yeah, and when you're doing intervals like that 30, 20, 10, you get aerobic and anaerobic gains and no loss of strength, speed, or power.
There's this guy at my gym, and man, I know for a fact he's not going to be watching this because he's never even talked to me. But he comes in, he's got to be on HWPO. He's the only guy at the gym on HWPO. He does rowing and box jumps every day. He does echo bike intervals. Saw him on the biker doing zone 2 today, and I have never once seen this guy do a ring muscle up. You're not getting an hour C2 bike for max meters and quarters, bro. Waste of time. And I know he's doing quarters. So it's just things like that just really frustrate me. And this is the other thing. Training Think Tub. Yeah, they love segmented training. And to be honest, it doesn't work for any of their athletes. And the athletes like Noah and Travis and Alexis Raptis, they're freaks of nature, and they're going to be amazing at CrossFit no matter where they go. Yeah, I don't know. I just think, it's dumb. This is a good question from Emmeline. You're in the top percent, not quite strong enough for compete numbers. Should you scale, compete, or jump on the 61st? I think it all depends on what your goal and desire out of your training is. You can, if your goal is to compete, if you enjoy training more, which isn't a stupid thing to say too. I know a lot of people, like, there are a lot of kind of old school heads or like seminar style heads, like, oh, show me you can do one workout fastest in the world before you try to do 4. That's cool. But like, some people like to go in and lift and do a workout and then do another workout, and that's fine. But if your goal is to honestly not waste time in the gym, be super fit and touch on all the skills, but it's not like a super high priority to you, 60 would be great. If you want to compete and you want to get better at all your skills and you want to be touching things frequently, things that you need as a competitor, whether that's a local comp or the open or quarterfinals, then compete for sure. And it's pretty simple to modify the weights. Like we have right below this is a hero workout adjusted, and the adjustment is hang squat clean instead of full squat clean, and then 1 minute of rest instead of 2. So 165. We'll go to the modified options. Loading, modify the squat. Here we go. Where are we at? Whoops. I missed the modifying load on this workout. So I'm going to enter that in there. But essentially, oh, here we go. Modify. Here we go. Pick a loading that pushes you outside your comfort zone while still allowing you to make some attempts at unbroken barbell sets during the workout. This workout is developing barbell cycling capacity and general sprint capacity. So this just kind of gives you an idea on what weight you want to try to pick on the workout. If 165, you know you can't do unbroken for 7 hang squat cleans and 7 shoulder overheads for a round, then you probably need to be at 145 or 135, etc.
Yeah, I think it's also a little bit subjective to the person too. Like if you have like a James Sprague engine and your strength numbers just aren't there, then yeah, definitely do the compete workouts and maybe bring the weights down so that you can complete them or do them as intended. But if just overall you're not there yet, then maybe 60 would be something that's good for you. I think it's a little bit dependent on the situation.
I'm trying to pull up. Somebody asked if we're going to do a More progressions to improve strict ring muscle up. So I'm going to pull up the progression from this previous year that was strict ring muscle ups. Paste and go. Here we go. Oh, wow. What am I on? Wrong thing. This is... That's all to say, yes, we will for sure add progressions for strict ring muscle ups this cycle. I just want to pull up what one of those looked like from last year. Copy. I have to transfer everything over to Google Chrome. All right, share screen, present, go. All right, let's see how slow this looks. Command F. I just typed it. How long is it going to take in delay to enter into the search bar? This document's like, the new one's already 70,000 words. So this one's probably just a crazy, it's going to crash here we go. It's not crashing the computer. Down. Nope. You got any questions in there?
Let me look through. Someone asked if it's 50 pull-ups at once every day or more like a get total 50 strict. I would say if 50 pull-ups is like a super daunting number for you,
20.
just start with you could start with 20 at a time, or just if you have
10.
like a pull-up bar that you can hang on a doorway, get 50 in the day. Don't even worry about doing it all at a time.
Right.
Like just do 5 every time you walk under it. Try to get it 10 times. And then eventually you can stick with 50 and just try to do it in bigger chunks. So when 5 starts to get really easy to do at a time, and you do 10 every time you walk under the door and only do it 5 times a day, and you could stick with 50. And then eventually you're doing 50 at once, not necessarily unbroken, but you can do it in one sitting.
Wow.
And then bump the number up.
Must be in this different document. This is crazy. All right, I'm pulling it up. What I used to do is I had a pull-up bar mounted above my garage, and every time I walked by it, I did 10 strict pull-ups. This was before I started CrossFit. And I think that, without a doubt, played a massive role in my ability to be good at gymnastics and bodyweight strength, both pulling and pressing. I did a lot of push-ups too. Probably as many push-ups in relation to that amount of strict pull-ups, just like, 50 to 100 a day. But I used to do a ton of strict pull-ups. So I think that for sure played a role. Okay, here we go. Skill development here. Let's see if this is the progression. Well, this is an example of a progression. I'll use it while I continue to look. Let me share this screen. I have like 5 Google Docs open. I wonder if my shit's going to crash.
Yeah.
Okay,
massive
so
Google Docs too.
This is every minute for 5 minutes, 10-second ring support, 10-second bottom ring dip hold, every minute for 5 minutes, 1 strict muscle up as slow as possible. And then modification notes, modify the strict muscle up to a strict ring dip or a kipping ring muscle up. So this is a Wednesday. We go to the next Wednesday, compete, more gymnastic strength every 3 minutes for 6 supersets, 8 or 6 weighted strict pull-ups, and then 16 top-down alternating dumbbell bench. So this is just like gymnastic. Here's the next Wednesday, weighted strict pull-ups, single arm dumbbell strict press. They keep coming down. Here we go. Strict ring muscle up work, false grip, strict chest to ring, strict ring dip, etc. This is from 2024 cycle 4, week 1. Here we go. Okay, this is where we had the muscle up progression. So this is week 1, gymnastic progression on a Tuesday. This is Compete's version. An EMOM of strict muscle ups to start. Then at the 5-minute mark, false grip, chest to ring. 10-minute mark, strict ring dip. 15-minute mark, 1 max unbroken set of strict handstand push-ups. Just a gymnastic work. And then there is modification options for the gymnastic work is just adding bands for like the strict muscle up or a seated band assisted strict muscle up. Here's the 60 version, 1 strict muscle up or 1 band assisted seated strict muscle up, etc. Week 1, week 2, again, just a different finisher, 20 in a row, 30 in a row. Week 3. Anyways, that is to say we do that. True. Taylor and Bryson, I like the pull-up and push-up idea. I've got to work out with pull-ups. If I've got to work out with pull-ups, should I still do it? You need to be cautious of the volume. So I would say if it's anything over 100 reps, no. If it's under 100 reps and it's not in 1 big chunk or 2 big chunks, it's probably fine. Like if it's 10 reps and like 5 rounds for time, or 10 reps in an AMRAP, and you can go to lower intensity and you can do a kipping pull-up and you're not dumping into the bottom of your rep and getting really loose and fatigued, I don't think it's a big issue. That being said, your ability to tolerate volume takes time to build. I think for you personally, True, you have like, at least right now, you seem like you have a pretty strong upper body, or that you could tolerate pull-ups more than maybe some other rando off the street. So I probably wouldn't be too concerned with you do it. You also don't strike me as someone who's going to go in and do Nicole and give yourself rhabdo. So I think you probably fall into the rare camp of like, you could probably do 30 strict a day. And then if you have a workout with 50 kipping pull-ups, it's probably not going to leave a mark. And especially on 60, like I'm very intentional of not having like overlapping things like pulling on days back to back, etc.
Wyatt had a good question too.
What's his question? Where's it at?
The one that's talking about CAP programming.
As a coach at our gym that follows CAP, what is your opinions on always doing different workouts than members? Ooh, does it set a bad precedent that class WODs aren't good enough? We do class workouts quite frequently. We did the .com burpee to target muscle up workout. What was Monday? Well, I did a dumbbell snatch lunge workout, just not on the same day. What was that Monday? No.
I feel like we probably get like once a week with a class.
But 2 to 3 times a week, the class workout, I would say.
Yeah.
Does it set a bad precedent? I think it all has to do with what your actual goals are, how those goals are communicated to your members, the mutual understanding between you and your owner or boss, and so on and so forth. I think for someone like me, people don't think twice if they see me not doing the class workout. I do them all the time, and I do them with people all the time. And I think there's just an understanding that I'm doing maybe more. I don't know how to say it without me feeling like a douche saying it.
No, yeah. I mean, I know what you're saying. And I think it kind of depends on the person who's doing it and the class setting. Like everyone at our gym knows like what your goals are. They know what, like there's sort of like a competitive group that comes in the evening a little bit more, but it's not like a separate group from the class members. They all, even those guys jump in class workouts sometimes as well. Like,
right. There's only one guy who I've never seen jumping on a class workout, and that's the HWPO bro. So to be honest, but he doesn't say anything to anyone, so I don't really know him at all. I would say doing different workouts and seeing a workout and being like, ooh, I want to do that. That's part of CrossFit. Like that's what made CrossFit cool to start. So I don't dislike that one freaking bit. I think you can do that and still be a part of the community. Being a part of the community, being someone that the community supports, you supporting the community, All of those things create an important interconnected relationship between you and your sphere of influence, so to speak, at the gym. And if you have good rapport, or if you have a lot of support, you probably get away with a lot more shit. And if you have zero support and people don't know you at all and they just always see you doing something different, you're probably going to seem like a dick. And that's just the gray area that is life. So be nice to people, be likable, and you'll be fine.
I think a good example of it, depending on the person, is it's not weird when you do it, but because of your goals. But if Andy just did like one workout a day, like he does, always does the class workout, and it was just something totally different than what he's given the classes, it would be pretty weird.
This was fucking hilarious. Yesterday, I was coaching. We had a heavy day, back squats. We're all warming up on the bike ergs. And before class, I was like, Nori, are you doing class? She was like, nope. And she's over in the back by the squat rack, like warming up to squat. And Andy's like on the bike erg with the class. Like we're doing Tabata bike to warm up for our squats. And he goes, hey, what are you doing? And Nori goes, what? He's like, what are you doing? You doing class? She's like, no. He's like, oh, are you squatting? She goes, yeah. He's like, oh, imagine that. We're squatting too. Holy shit. I tried not to cringe. So
I think he said that to Maris a couple of times. Like if she's doing a movement that's even remotely similar to something that's a movement in the class workout, it's like, you could do that in class.
So funny. One of his favorite things to say is at the end of the month, everybody's done CrossFit. And there's a degree of truth to that. Sarah Cooper, what's a Russian dip? Couple different ways to do it. There's videos of Camille doing it on benches. There's videos of gymnasts doing it on parallel bars. I like to use like jerk blocks or stacked boxes next to you. And it's essentially where you're elevated off the ground and the boxes are high enough to where your feet aren't touching and you're resting on your forearms, and you throw your head and chest through, transfer to your arms, and press out. Kind of like is that called a Russian push-up or a Sphinx push-up?
I think it's a Russian push-up.
Russian push-up. Yeah. If you Google Russian, it's just what it teaches is the transition of a muscle up from this position to turn over and to press out. I, though, wouldn't add them into workouts. I think they're a movement and a skill you should practice outside of like metabolic intensity. Do you guys have any suggestions for double under skill work? If you've ever, good days can get 40 unbroken, bad days trip on every rep. Make sure your jump rope height is like perfect. And that should be when you step on it with one foot, you pull it up and it's like right at your sternum. The second thing is really practicing keeping your hands in the same place and looking at a single target in front of you. I'm a big proponent in weightlifting and with something like double unders is like, there are a couple spots in the gym that have like an X on the wall or a smiley face that I've drawn to just give myself a visual cue to stare at so that my eyes aren't moving. That, and then I would say penguin drill, because I find for most people that stink at double unders, but they have like a reasonable amount of fitness that you would expect them to be able to do them, is they just have terrible rhythm. So penguin taps, I think, are really good. And they're like here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go, baby. I fucking love penguin taps. And I don't hate telling them to people. I just feel like when I coach the whole class on penguin taps, I feel like such a nerd and a dork. And Andy is like, yeah, I know what you're going to fucking tell me to do. I got to do penguin taps. And then he'll go off in the corner and he'll do something else when I'm teaching him for double unders. But I think it's timing and rhythm, really how you spin your wrist and timing that double spin at the very top of your jump arc.
I think something that's practicing the same thing as penguin taps is just practicing your double unders when you can hear your rope. Turn the music off, no headphones, no loudspeakers, but just being able to hear your rope and hear what it sounds like when you string 10 together. And then you go back to tripping every 2. You're like, oh, that sounds a little bit different.
That's a good cue. Why. Really like that. We can talk about eating a little bit around competition. It's kind of like, it all depends, right? Like if you're somebody who works a 9 to 5 and then you're going in to do a quarterfinal workout in the afternoon, looks a little bit different than someone like me who doesn't have shit else to do all day but stress and ramp my anxiety through the roof for 8 hours doing nothing but staring at my computer and other people's scores until it's time for me to do the workout. Generally speaking, timing carbohydrates, like simple carbs around your workout so that when you go in, you're like glycogen stores are fully topped off and you have a lot of energy. I'm not telling you to eat a fucking Snickers bar. It's absolutely not what I'm telling you to do. But ideally, you start the day with some lean protein, a healthy carb, starchy carb, healthy fat. for breakfast. And if your workout's in the afternoon, like you have a big breakfast, at lunch, you probably have another source of lean protein, another source of maybe a complex starchy carb, and then a lot less fat getting closer to your workout. And then say that's like 3.5, 4 hours prior to you going. And then 2 hours prior, I'd recommend like a couple fruit items or coconut water, something that's more simple. And then when you get right up to your workout, like an electrolyte drink or pre-workout, that's how I try to eat on like a one event competition day. Which is essentially what the open is. So like if you have a regular day, you wake up, eat a good protein, a good carb, healthy fat, your second meal, good protein, good carb, but not so much fat. You still have fat. You just closer you get to your workouts, the less fat you want.
Yeah.
Unless you want to be throwing your fucking brains out like I did on 24.1.
I think really the only thing in that is sort of dependent on the person is the 2 hours before. I think having the fruit and stuff is good. For me, I like it like an hour before.
Hour before, yeah. I
know some people do it like 3 hours before, and if they do it any like closer to the workout than that, they feel sick and sluggish.
Right.
So that one, it can be dependent a little bit.
When do I time my pre-workout? So when I time my pre-workout, I take either SFH push. In the past, I've taken just standard C4 powder pre-workout. SFH push is a powder pre-workout, and C4 RTD, like the ready to drink. And an ideal timing for me, if I'm going to do a workout at 7 p.m., like say it's the open workout and shit's on the line, I will typically start my warm-up at like, depending on the workout, either 6 p.m. or 6:15. The hour side is getting a little aggressive. Like that's a lot of time to warm up. 45 minutes prior to is typically good. You just don't want to spend too much time wasting energy warming up, right? Like doing stupid stuff. Sometimes in competition, if you're really sore, you need a longer warm-up so that you can loosen your body up without forcing it into like an intense period without a lot of movement prior to. But in something like an open workout, 45 minutes is probably good. So right when I start my workout, I'll start sipping my pre-workout. So like that's like 45 minutes before, but I don't drink the whole thing. So like say I start on the bike erg, I'm loosening up on the bike erg, drinking a little bit of pre-workout, doing some freestyle mobility, sipping a little bit of pre-workout. And then by the time I'm 20 minutes before go time, I make sure I finished all my pre-workout. And really the most important thing is that beta alanine that you've heard the old Matt Daddy talk about on the Rogan podcast. It's good stuff. With our shocking number of live viewers, we're going to have a crazy amount of beta alanine sales after the show. So beta alanine, I make sure I finish that 20 minutes before the workout starts. And then at that 20-minute mark, I start what my coaches called lactic buffering or lactic acid buffering, which is just like a couple of short bouts of intense workout prep prior to starting so that your heart rate's primed. You've buffered your body's ability to sustain lactic acid. So what that looks like maybe for the dumbbell snatch thruster workout is 4 rounds, but not right back to back, of 4 right arm snatch, 4 lateral burpee, 4 left arm snatch, 4 lateral burpee. Then I'm maybe doing 2 minutes of like alternating Samson lunge stretches, breathing through my nose, getting my heart rate back down. When I'm done with the Samson lunge stretches, I'll go through another set of that 4, 4, 4, 4. And then maybe this time I'm doing down dog or like bootstrap squats, like an active dynamic mobility that allows me to get my heart rate down while I'm still moving. Call that lactic buffering. I do that. And then I try to be done with my lactic acid buffering, like 5 minutes before I start. And then I can pee, get water, whatever. So that's all to say, like 45 minutes to 20 minutes before your workout, you should be sipping your pre-workout. Oh, this is good. Organic
HDR,
honey.
yeah.
I love that. I've never done that. I might try honey. I love honey. I put maple syrup on a lot of my food for like simple carbohydrates. My wife has anywhere from 1 to 3 push-ups. Wants to get better. I suggested that she do a single push-up per day, work on her pressing strength. Maybe she could do 1 push-up every hour or 1 push-up every 30 minutes.
Or she could elevate the angle on like rings or even put a barbell on the rig or something.
Fuck it. I think
And
if she can do a full push-up and she can do 1 to 3 in one sitting, she could probably do 1 every hour.
oh, I mean, I think she could do 1 every hour, but I'm just saying, like, if she still wanted to do like 3 sets of 10 or something, she could elevate a set of rings like 2 feet off the ground. And you can do a lot more push-ups that way than you can from the ground.
I could cook a pizza when I'm eating plant-based protein. Like, that's how hot my farts are. So I personally would not recommend.
Plant-based protein is not worth your money. It doesn't.
Dude, it blows me. Jared Ellis, Taylor, what's your goal with your career and competing? Do you see being a games athlete as the ultimate goal? That used to be my only goal and the only thing I cared about. Then I hurt my knee and I had a bit of like an identity crisis, and I still want that really badly. I would say I'm just very naturally competitive. So like when I'm with someone like Jason or Dallin or Colton, I'll die before I like let someone beat me. I think that naturally has carried me very far. I want to make it to the games. I don't have any pressure on myself for this year because I don't think I'm still fully healthy or prepared to compete, but I'm going to go as far as my current capacity takes me and have fun. But I was telling Bryson earlier today, I'm not going to miss out on any other opportunities because of this. Like if I, by some crazy miracle, qualify for semifinals, I'm still going to go to the West and work our podcast with Sevon a week before, because that's an opportunity I don't want to miss for the world. But my goal is to make it next year for sure.
I think another thing that's like really encouraging, I guess, about hanging out with you and just learning about you is it's very clear and obvious that you care about Sentinel way more than you could care about like competing or anything like that. 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times more, but you still put everything into competing when it's time to compete and training when it's time to train. Even if at the end of the day, if you could only pick one, you'd pick Sentinel.
This is, dude, I love you, Mason. And JR says the same thing, and so does Souza, but I don't know, maybe no buts.
You're 100%.
Just stop saying that. It's so not a
if you try, you're a lock. You're a lock.
I'm gonna try, dude, but it's not a lock like that. But I'm gonna try for sure. I'm not gonna half-ass a single workout. You can bet your fucking ass if I'm standing next to Jason's dumb ass, I'm not going soft. There's no shot.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't tell you you're a lock, so then you have to.
Yeah,
think you really
tell me
have
I
to fight
suck.
for something and
tell
win
me I
quarterfinals.
suck and smack me in the face a couple of times. That's what I need. I'm not into that kind of thing though. But I do care way more about Sentinel because I care way more about helping people. The worst part about getting hurt before that semifinal was having to coach classes every day still and not being able to demo movements for people that like I loved. And I didn't feel like I could be a good coach. And it just sucks to be in a gym where everybody else is doing what they love and you feel like you can't do that. So that blows. And I would say more than anything, I love coaching people. I would say maybe more than anything, I love giving people an outlet to have fun and like enjoy being around other people. Like that's the coolest thing about CrossFit is you go in there and you're having fun with your buddies doing a workout. Like that's so fucking cool. And most people in like everyday life work their 9 to 5. They don't get to experience shit like that. Like they go out and drink with their friends, but are they having like genuine connection and having true fun and like suffering with someone next to them and like sharing adversity and overcoming it together? Like that's really special. I love that more than anything.
Not. And they're getting closer towards the sickness side of the sickness, wellness, fitness curve. Whereas in CrossFit, you're going the other way.
Yeah. Emmeline, how often in training should we go balls to the walls effort? Like you're 24.1. That is, so when I say intensity is the most important thing ever, I mean it, but that's relative intensity. And I guess when I say that, I feel like the common sense is that you should feel like you're trying hard, but it's not sustainable to do this every day. No shot.
Yeah, I would say balls to the wall and Taylor's 24.1 are still very different. Like you should go balls to the wall on a workout every day, but doing what Taylor did in 24.1 is like a once a year thing.
Yeah. Well, I'll put it this way. An interval with machine work, it's really easy to get intensity because you can ramp into it. You can modulate it from interval to interval, and it's low impact and you can recover from it very well. a 5-minute bout at 100% capacity from start to finish is like something you can't really recover from in a day, or not
Yeah.
many people can. I for sure at that point could. I wasn't ready to recover from that. And even Dallin wasn't. If I had 5 hours, I could have gone and done another workout for sure.
Well, yeah. So to use like a workout we talked about earlier, that 30, 20, 10 every 10 minutes, you could do that 5 days in a row
Mhm,
and get the same splits every time.
mhm.
You could not do 24.1 5 days in a row and at your 5:41 or 5:39 or whatever time it was.
I agree with this to a degree. I think I probably have a strong impulse to hit the floor, not every day, but I train 5 days a week. And typically of those 5 days, it's close to every one of those. I have a strong impulse to like lay down after a workout. Sometimes it might be me being a pussy. I think for the most part, it's like a 90% intensity, I would say, a 9 out of 10, which is high intensity. You could intuit or assume that anything over a 6 out of 10 is high intensity because it's higher than middle of the pack. Low intensity is 1 to 3, moderate intensity is probably 4 to 6, and anything 7 to 10 you could consider high intensity. So as long as you're giving a 70% effort or over, most of the time over 70%, say, and you're not training too much, gosh, it's so subjective. Just
Mhm.
go by feel. It would be hard to run yourself into the dirt with that kind of intensity. I think people who have done something like that, you look at somebody like Mal potentially. She put
A
herself in
lot of
holes so much she just doesn't want to do it anymore.
and a lot of people, like more like average gym goer people, don't really know what a good RPE is. Like they might feel like they're doing 90% and it's actually 70%. They just don't know how to touch that next gear.
This is a really good point that I want to touch on. Um, for true, I think the biggest thing with me and hitting intensity is that I usually lack one skill, which completely ruins intensity for me. So think of a workout like the second open workout. You're great at rowing, you can get a ton of intensity there. You're great at deadlifts, can get a ton of intensity there, but you, for the life of you, can't do your double unders and you're just tripping a ton. So you can't even go faster if you wanted to. I think there's a time and a place like the open to do a workout like that and suffer through stinking at the skill. I think most of the time in your training, there should be a period reserved for practicing the skill that you're bad at and a modification that you can make within the workout to allow you to get free intensity. And free intensity to me is like free of things that hold you back to the point to where the workout becomes irrelevant, or free of pain. Like pain's a big thing. If you've got an injury or a nag going on, it'll just stop you dead in your tracks. It'll turn your muscles off. It's just pointless to try to train through stuff like that. Just like sometimes it's, if you've got a workout that's a 7-minute AMRAP of 10 snatches and 30 double unders, for example, and you don't have double unders, you're just going to stand there for 7 minutes failing. It's not
Mhm.
smart to do that. Do lateral bar hop overs and get a great workout. Much better idea. That being said, if it's like a load, maybe there is a place for doing grace heavier than maybe you would normally do it, because you're working on heavier clean and jerks and building strength, but you still want to get some metabolic intensity out of it. That's a little bit different. But I think typically when it comes to a skill, you should try to practice that before or after and find something, a suitable adaptation or variation of that movement to do in the workout that allows you to get free intensity. Penguin taps,
Mhm.
lateral bar hops. Good question. What else did I say we were going to talk about? Quarterfinals, our plan going in. Okay, so that's just to say Monday is going to look kind of normal, but the volume is going to be much lower. Tuesday, volume's way lower. It's basically an active recovery day. Wednesday is one optional cardio piece if you want it the week going into quarterfinals. So that would be the 14th, 15th, and the 15th, 16th, and 17th. They'll announce the workouts Wednesday, and then we'll recommend 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, and then option to retest Saturday for the first 2, option to retest Sunday for 3 and 4. And that's going to be our recommendation for quarterfinals. Again, 60 already has that entire week programmed out. And once the workouts are announced, we're going to try to fit them as best we can into the strength progressions that we've written out. If we have to make changes, we will. But it'll be an either or. Hit the regular 60 workout or this quarterfinal workout. Hopefully, they're a lot better than the teams and you'll want to do them. But if they look anything like the team workouts, you'd rather do the 60 workouts instead.
100%.
Similar question regarding strict muscle up piece. This is from Logan Brown. Absolutely demolished that rope climb workout from quarterfinals. I remember you showing me that the other week, 19th in North America East.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. Similar question regarding strict ring muscle up piece tomorrow. I'll only be able to do one each round and it'll be slow. Should I do strict ring dip anyways? Okay, let's pull up this workout. This is a perfect example and one. Sorry, I'm not even on this anymore. Let me share my screen real quick. Boom. Okay. This is for Friday. Where are we at? Right here. This is the workout he's talking about. Workout 1. 7-minute AMRAP, 3 squat cleans at 225, 155, 3 strict muscle ups for men, 2 strict muscle ups for women. Then you'll rest 3 minutes. You go 1 on, 1 off, kipping ring muscle ups and lighter front squats. So you only have 1 strict muscle up. It'll be slow. I think in this format, 100% stay with the strict ring muscle up. In something like this, the whole point of like this 7-minute AMRAP is for people who aren't as good at it. You get an opportunity to practice it in some sort of a metabolic setting. And if you aren't able to get great intensity because you could only get 5 rounds, so to speak, don't worry, buddy. 1 on, 1 off for 5. It's going to be impossible for you not to get intensity on the second part. So all your metabolic intensity will come here. You'll get the opportunity for that. Here, do as close to the prescribed movement and workout as possible, in my opinion. I think you'll get a lot better at strict muscle ups doing it in a setting like this. Does that make sense?
I think so.
So we had a workout a while back. It was 1 power clean, 3 parallel handstand push-ups, 7-minute AMRAP, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1 and 3 for 7 minutes, full depth, which is not like a common skill we program because like you got to pretty much make it to semifinals to even have a chance at seeing that movement. But it's fun, and we were out of season, and like people need to be doing stuff like that if you've never done it before. But it was in the exact same format. You do a 7-minute AMRAP of it, and if you only get 3 rounds or 4 rounds because it was hard and the time domain was short, fine. You still need to practice doing it in a time constraint. But then at the 10-minute mark, we started an interval of rowing and burpees or burpee pull-ups, or maybe it was lateral burpees over the
burpee over the rower. Yeah.
Right. So you got that metabolic intensity after practicing the skill if you haven't gotten the intensity there or you didn't get the intensity there. Oh, here we go. RPE is so much easier to follow than percentages. Yes, I like it. I do sometimes use percentages, but I prefer RPE 100%. Have any of you done the metronome drill? Okay. I've never done a metronome drill for jump ropes, but I've done it for running a ton and actually gave it to Michelle for running and another of my athletes for running like 160, 70, 80 beats per minute. Oh, how do you guys handle tweaks? This is a good one. Minor injuries. Recently, my left shoulder has been feeling pretty bad. More pain than soreness. If I don't warm up, strict pressing 95 pounds would kill me. Bryson.
Yeah.
What do you do your strict press? Talk about it. He doesn't do it.
My shoulder has, obviously, anytime we're talking about injuries, it's super subjective to the person. But my shoulder just randomly started hurting a couple months ago. And I couldn't do any sort of strict pressing or just pressing at all, really. I hadn't done handstand push-ups in a while. I hadn't touched a barbell strict press. And then I got to a point with enough like crossover symmetry every day, a lot of warming up, that I could get through some strict handstand push-ups that still bothered it, but it wasn't like crazy painful. And then so I saw that. So I started building up some tolerance and like volume in the strict handstand push-ups. And then it kind of started to go away. So now I can do strict handstand push-ups pain-free, even though when I started, it was still nagging me a little bit. I still can't strict press pain-free. I did some strict presses at 135 like 2 weeks ago. And then last week I did some at like 105 and I just had to stop. So it's still not 100% back. But I think once you get to a certain point with like it not just hurting walking around, you might need to push through a little bit of
3 to 10 is what
discomfort.
typically like a PT would say. Working at a
Yeah.
3 out of 10 pain during the exercise, and it shouldn't make the pain worse afterward. If you have like residual pain from it, you probably need to back off a little bit. And if I were Bryson's coach, I would tell him, hey, and if you can't barbell strict press right now, maybe you could do a single arm dumbbell strict press in your warm up, or a bottoms up kettlebell strict press in your warm up. You should find some variation that is pain-free, that somehow mimics the movement that's not necessarily causing pain, but that can build strength around that injury or nag.
Yeah.
Within
I think-
reason. Sometimes
Yeah.
if you have something that's fucked up, you just need to not mess with it until it heals.
Yeah.
Though.
I think a big distinction is 1, the 3 out of 10 thing, and 2, it's not residual. So as soon as I would stop doing strict handstand push-ups, my shoulder stopped hurting.
Right.
And so I wasn't really too worried about it. If I would do a set and then it would make my shoulder hurt for the rest of the day, I probably know
More
that
worried.
I need to just wait a little bit.
Uh-oh, your camera cut out, bro.
Oh, my camera just died.
Yeah, dude. Can you switch to your iPhone? Bryson's new name is El Gato. Not sure what that means. The cat, the kitty. Band-Aid fix to help me. Ice tape and ibuprofen. True. Ibuprofen until it feels better, basically. JK. I do take ibuprofen though sometimes. Like, yeah, if not if I have muscle soreness, but I have something that's really lingering and I just need to train through it, or I feel like I need to train through it. I've been known to take a little bit. I don't ever really get, for the most part, I don't ever get shoulder pain. I've had periods where one shoulder's bothering me for a little while. But that I would say is probably similar to people getting like patellar or quad tendonitis from squatting toesy a ton.
Yeah,
just
this is
squatting
the
too much.
time I've had like any shoulder injuries that's like doesn't just go away in a day or two.
Yeah, I agree, Judy. I use a lacrosse ball a lot. Helps a ton. But bar hangs, or sorry, the best PT I ever had was a massive proponent of just bar hangs for warming up and cooling down, and progressing to like a single arm bar hang for strengthening the shoulder girdle. Not like a dead. You probably shouldn't begin with a dead single arm bar hang, but you should start with a double arm bar hang active, and then get to where you can hold pretty tight passive, and then go single arm or assisted single arm active, and build from there is a really good way to strengthen the shoulder girdle.
Yeah, I should probably do those more, but HGR's comment right here.
I use their shit on my knee every day.
Yeah, Taylor knows I use it on my elbows and my shoulder every day because he smells it. After
we'll be warming up for jerks and it'll smell like menthol, and I'll be like, dude, relax.
I use it every single day.
But I do use it. I still use it on my scar tissue on my knee, with like a scraper. Helps a ton. I love it. And I'm not just saying that. Like, I really, really love it. I use it every day.
I specifically don't use ibuprofen, so I'm on board with HGR here.
It is really bad for you. Yeah, just like drugs, but I did those once upon a time.
I think bar hangs true or something you can do even now.
Oh, hog hangs. Yeah, those are good ones. You do those every other day with your mouth.
That's how I live. I live with my hog hanging, bro.
Hog hangs. Good grief. Okay. If anybody has any additional questions, we'll answer one more question. If you don't, we're going to dip out. Lizzie's going to kill me. 2 podcasts today, dude. And should we Google
You just
that?
said this wasn't a podcast.
Oh, you're right. It's not a podcast. It's like a Twitch stream. Oh, yes. Huge anus. We for sure are going to do another squat, clean, and moan video for you, bro. I almost failed that rep because I was laughing so hard. What's most likely going to be the movements and quarters? Everything you see and the team workouts. This is good to note. So I don't know what we're going to see in quarters. I'm not hoping for anything. I'm expecting as shitty workouts as the teams were. And if they're better, I'll be surprised and happy. This is a good thing to note. Mason said I did bar hangs every day and it made my shoulder worse. Yeah. there's no one-stop fix or universal remedy for anything that goes wrong. So like me saying bar hangs are good, they probably are good if you don't have like a fucking torn labrum or rotator cuff. But if you have something like that, it's probably terrible for you. Just like, you know, ATG split squats after I shredded my entire knee skateboarding weren't going to fix my knee. I wasn't going to do 12 ATG split squats a day and be better. So this is important to note. Thank you for commenting that. And we are not medical professionals by any stretch of the means. So when's the last time Bryson shit himself working out?
24.3, baby.
Wow.
Well, actually, I didn't do it while I was working out. I was just chilling when I did it.
Here we go. So he has a torn labrum, and hanging is not good for torn labrums. My mom just had rotator cuff surgery. So similar for her. There was some stuff that really bugged her.
Yeah, True was also saying, like, unless he warms up a lot, it feels bad. So that's another good sign that if you warm up a lot and it feels good, that means it's probably not anything crazy serious.
What's an ATM squat? Ass to mouth? Bryson's my target. Bryson's my medicine ball. Oh, sheesh. All right, we better get out of here. Thank you, guys. Awesome video. We kind of just went way off the rails, but it was cool. Next one, I'll try to have a way better script. Thank you, guys.
We don't need a script.
See ya.
Deuces.